On October 13th, 2017, 20th Century Fox released their first trailer for the New Mutants, their latest in their long-running X-Men series of films. The trailer signaled the start of a new era for the franchise. With Logan and Dark Phoenix acting as the end to the previous generation of films, New Mutants was loudly proclaiming itself to be the start of the next generation. It had a new cast, a new creative team, and even a new style and tone. One that was more horror-focused, like a haunted house movie, rather than superheroes at Hogwarts like most of the previous films were. The film was scheduled to be released on April 13th, 2018. But April 13th, 2018 came and went without sight or sound of the New Mutants coming out. The movie would then get delayed and shuffled around over the course of the next 2 years. A lot would happen in between the release of the first trailer and now. And not just in terms of what was going on behind the scenes of the New Mutants, but in the world of superhero movies in general. This week, 27 months after the release of the first trailer, Fox has finally released a new trailer for the New Mutants, and with that have seemingly confirmed that yes, this movie is coming out, and it's coming out April 3rd of this year. But what exactly is Fox, or really now Disney, trying to offer us? What kind of movie is New Mutants going to be? And is it ultimately too late for it? In case you have a life and haven't been following this very closely, The New Mutants is a story of 5 teenagers who discover that they have special abilities, all while being trapped in an insane asylum. The film takes a very horror slant to its subject matter. In addition to being set in a spooky, scary asylum, the movie deals with the past trauma of its characters, as well as any additional trauma they may experience while being institutionalized. Now, in all fairness, this does sound like a great idea for an X-Men movie. If we exclude Deadpool for a minute, there have been 10 movies in this series, and while Logan was more of a sci-fi western, the rest of the films never really deviated that far from the superhero movie template that the series itself helped to establish. So a haunted house style horror movie is a nice change of pace for the series, and there is precedent for it. The original Chris Claremont, Bill Sienkiewicz run of the New Mutants comic was very dark and very avant-garde with its art style, something that would be very well suited for a horror movie like the New Mutants film is trying to be. Now, the first trailer for this movie actually looked pretty good. It was properly spooky, it had a good scare or two in there, and it didn't really hide from the fact that it was an X-Men movie. It didn't flat out say it, it wasn't in your face about it, but it dropped enough subtle hits to let us know, let the audience know, that it was connected to the X-Men in some way. You know, in case we didn't get it already, that this was going to be a new type of X-Men movie from the title alone. From there, things looked all set for that April 13th release date, but alas, it was not meant to be. The New Mutants was in production at around the same time as Dark Phoenix. Both films would suffer from delays, reshoots, and a lot of interference from the studio. From here, things honestly get kind of confusing as to what exactly happened with the New Mutants over its 2-year delay. There was a lot of re-editing and reshoots that happened. Some of the reshoots were done to make the movie less scary. Some of them were done to make the movie even scarier. What is clear, however, is that there definitely was a tug of war between director Josh Boone and the higher-ups at Fox over the direction of the New Mutants. This, coupled with the fact that Dark Phoenix, which was supposed to be the flagship entry in the X-Men series, was going through similar production problems, and it made everything sound that much more worse. And of course, Dark Phoenix eventually came out, and it sucked big time. So now all eyes were on the New Mutants. Would this movie suffer a similar fate? Would it get released in a state of total chaos? And of course, let's not forget the Disney buyout of 20th Century Fox, which happened in between the release of the first trailer and now. Word has it, Disney was not impressed with the initial cuts of the New Mutants. Word had it that best case scenario, that meant that the New Mutants would just be dumped onto Hulu or Disney Plus or something like that. At worst, it meant, or at least the rumor suggested, that Disney would just straight up cancel and shelve New Mutants entirely. But now it looks like the movie is actually going to get released, and it will be released almost 2 years after its originally scheduled release date. Rumor has it this is much closer in tone to Josh Boone's original vision for the movie. It's going to be a hard PG-13 horror film that won't have any real explicit relation to the X-Men series, just in case Marvel wants to fold it into their MCU. And to celebrate, they finally released a new trailer for the movie, so at last I can show something other than the washing machine bit when I talk about this film. Okay, one more time. Now, this new trailer really is very similar to the first trailer. It's really pushing that haunted asylum vibe. It reiterates the plot, 5 mutant kids are trapped in there, and it even uses the same cover of another brick in the wall. Watching the new trailer back to back with the original though, I realized something. In the original trailer, we didn't really get to see the new characters use their mutant abilities, but we do get to see them use them in this new trailer. It's not an all-out superpower showcase, but it is there when we finally get a sense that these characters are in fact mutants. We see Maisie Williams' Wolfbane start to transform. We see Charlie Heaton's Cannonball start to power up. We see Anna Taylor-Joy's magic create her sword and her armored skin, and she even uses a teleportation disc. There also seems to be more of an effort to make this movie look more unique amongst its other haunted asylum and haunted house brethren. The trailer shows off a pretty heavy sci-fi element to the film, and in addition to things like waking up and seeing weird shit, we also see some other creatures that the heroes will be forced to fight, like the Demon Bear. The Demon Bear was the titular antagonist of what many consider to be the best story of the Claremont-Sienkiewicz run of the New Mutants. A lot of people rightly assumed that this movie would take its primary influence from that book. Now, we don't get to see all of the Demon Bear in the trailer, but we see enough that could get us interested. Now, overall, I do like what I'm seeing here. I like this more horror take on the genre. I like how this is kind of a dark inverse of the whole Xavier School idea. I think this is a great new direction for this series, and it's a direction that makes total sense for this series. It acts as both a new take on a series that desperately needs one, and as a potential fresh start for a wholly new series. Not only that, but the mutant powers are sort of being portrayed in a David Cronenberg body horror kind of way. They're not really abilities that look fun to have. Some of them even look downright disgusting and unpleasant. If nothing else, a body horror X-Men movie sure makes a lot more sense than a body horror Fantastic Four movie. Seriously, I'm sure the Trank cut is a lot better than what we eventually got, but body horror Fantastic Four should have never made it past the pitch stage. Now, with regards to how this movie has changed over the past 2 years, it doesn't look like it has. This new trailer is very similar to the original in style and tone. Hell, again, the Pink Floyd cover is almost the same. I'm not any more or less interested in the New Mutants than I was when I saw the first trailer back in 2017. Now, that's not a bad thing per se, but I just don't know if the delay in production, if spreading it across 2 years and releasing it 2 years after it was supposed to be released, is gonna look good for this movie, especially when you consider that a lot happens in those 2 years with regards to the world of superhero cinema. In that time frame, we've had 2 Avengers movies come out. We've had Logan, Black Panther, Into the Spider-Verse all get nominated for major Academy Awards, and it looks like Joker is going to follow suit for some reason. DC as a whole has finally started to find their groove when it comes to making movies about their superheroes. Hell, Valiant is entering the game with Bloodshot this year, and that's going to be released before New Mutants comes out. And the X-Men series has pretty much crashed and burned thanks to Dark Phoenix. So are people really ready for another movie with mutants? Is there a place for the New Mutants in this day and age? Well, if they market it a little more than they have been, then yeah, I think so. Horror movies are pretty in right now, and a Marvel-sanctioned horror movie might just be enough to get general audiences interested in the New Mutants. Plus, the movie does seem to be distancing itself from the X-Men series just enough so that people don't think it's directly connected to Dark Phoenix or any other film in the franchise, while also still keeping the mutant aspect and certain other things so that people do make the connection to the X-Men, but realize that this is a different kind of X-Men movie. Again, it's being said that this movie is going to be much closer in tone to what director Josh Boone originally wanted. So if that's the case, it's nice to see that his vision has survived after all these years. Hopefully it pays off, and maybe it'll inspire other studios to make horror-themed comic book movies as well. Maybe Swamp Thing will come back. Maybe Marvel will make Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness a true Lovecraftian horror fest. Or maybe the movie will just get buried and it will be the last we see of the mutants on the big screen for the foreseeable future. A week before New Mutants comes out, Disney is going to be releasing their Mulan live action remake. And then a week after New Mutants, No Time to Die. Those movies will definitely make a lot of money in their respective releases, and it's very possible that New Mutants will be sandwiched between the two and lost in the shuffle. But no matter what, we definitely should not lose sight of the fact that the New Mutants is actually coming out, and it is something new and different and unique and fresh in the world of superhero cinema, and that should always be championed. And with that said, are you excited that the New Mutants is finally coming out? Did you think it would die a slow, quiet death? Did you even forget that this was even in the picture? Do you know anybody who is still excited for it? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. I always put an Amazon affiliate link to the Demon Bear in the description whenever I talk about the New Mutants because that's the one everybody wants to read. But this time I'll try and throw in some other New Mutant stories from the Claremont Sienkiewicz run, from the Claremont McCloud run, which predates Sienkiewicz, and from other eras as well, other non-horror eras of the New Mutants. Like Rob Liefeld's run. You might like that. You might not, but you never know. And of course, don't forget that we have new videos every Tuesday and Wednesday, with Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern being Wulff Den Live. So subscribe to see all of that, like this video, and share it with a friend who's super excited that New Mutants is finally coming out this year. Do you know anybody who's actually excited that New Mutants is coming out this year? Like, did I make this for an audience of nobody? Oh well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.